been to a sporting event, the atmosphere before a game, I think Game Time Decisions has that same exact atmosphere. This is our arena. This is what we do. There is going to be an energy to Game Time Decisions that you will feel night in and night out. The excitement you get when you lock your bets in, when you're figuring out what you want to do, we can zone in on the biggest games each night. I want this to be the place that people come to before the games start so they feel as ready as possible to lock in their cards. We are going to hit every single one of those markets that you need to know about. We're going to go through every single thing, and I've got a great team behind me that's going to help me get the job done. There is not going to be a better place, I promise you, than Game Time Decisions to get that new information, react to it, and be able to then bet accordingly. We will have everything at our disposal, and we will use that to our advantage. I'm Kevin Walsh. Tune into Game Time Decisions from 6 to 8 p.m. Eastern on SportsGrid.
Your gut says Miami is going to win, and you should take the over. Your gut also said your NFT selfies would only go up in value. They didn't. But your head is on SportsGrid and knows the QB is in concussion protocol. The backup has a 45 QBR against the zone coverage. The New York D has the most sacks in the league. So yeah, trust your head. It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
After a very promising start to this season, could it be already done for KC's wide receiver, Rashee Rice, attempting to make a tackle after Patrick Mahomes threw an interception?
We're used to teams saying, we don't know, MRI. Here, Andy Reid's being a little more honest. He's leaving hope alive, but I think they already know, which is really, really too bad.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
What do you say, folks? Little Game Time Decisions on a Tuesday night. I am Kevin Walsh with you, and we are jam-packed. 2 hours to make it happen right here on SportsGrid. We have to handle a lot of NFL news. We have the Major League Baseball postseason right now. It's ripping and roaring. I'm moving around. I'm a little bit excited, right? I mean, what else you want from me? We have the WNBA making their finals set. We do. We also have the beginning of the NHL season. And if you know Kevin Walsh, you know me. Known hockey guy. Always have been, always will be. How about some quick picks? How about some hockey futures? Let's get it started here. Connor Bedard in action tonight to begin his sophomore season. Year number 1, 68 games played, 61 points tallied this year. In his sophomore year, if he takes another step, I expect him to go well over the 79.5 number that we are seeing for his straight listed props. And I think we could see alts come into play for Bedard. At plus 300, you'll be cashing a 55-plus assist bet. Bedard's comp point, I know it's dangerous, but it is Connor McDavid, who in his second season had 80 assists, 100 points on the board. That is what or 72 assists, He had 100 points on the board because that's Connor McDavid. It's what he does, right? Well, for Connor Bedard, he only played in 4 preseason games. He had 6 points, 5 assists. He had a 3-assist game. This kid is special, and we know it. I think over 79.5 points sales. I think a 60 assist this season is on the board for the kid in Chicago, and it begins tonight. My best bet in the NHL's future market is on Igor Shesterkin, the New York Rangers' elite goaltender, who today turned down record-breaking money because he knows he's the best in the business. And I like this even more now that he turned down the money because he's got a lot more to prove. 4 shutouts at minus 125 is the best bet. Took it as high as 6+ shutouts at plus 470. Igor last year had a 4 shutout season. 2 years ago had a 6 shutout season. We know he's one of the league's best. And last year, he was so close to clipping a monster year as it pertains to shutouts. Again, he had 4 shutouts. He had 14 wins where the opponent only scored 1 goal. You take 2 of those, and now all of a sudden, you have 6 shutouts on your hands at plus 470. I think Igor is absolutely getting you at least 4 shutouts this year for the New York Rangers. And just like that, the NHL season is fully underway. I know a game started at 4:30. I know they had the Global Series. But did they really begin until you got some quick picks from a hockey guy? I don't think so. Let's keep it New York. Let's go to the NFL. The huge news today, Robert Saleh fired by the New York Jets. In my opinion, this is all signs pointing to Aaron Rodgers having far too much control. Woody Johnson's run the New York Jets for 2+ decades. He's never fired a coach in season. He fires Robert Saleh. That is ridiculous. Robert Saleh is fired after a 2-game losing streak. Shall we go through the sample size? They lose to the Denver Broncos at home. They scored 10 points, and their quarterback in Bo Nix threw for 60 yards. That's defense first Robert Saleh's fault? Sounds like an offensive issue to me. But maybe it was a blip. Maybe this game in London, the Minnesota game, had to fall on the defense. Well, Sam Darnold entered, having 4 games this year with multiple passing touchdowns in every single one of those games and a passer rating of 100+ in every single one of those games. Then he goes up against Robert Saleh's defense, and his passer rating is a 50.3, throws no touchdowns and 1 interception. Rodgers threw 3 picks, though, including a back-breaking pick 6 and another interception on the game-winning drive where 2 throws earlier, he missed Garrett Wilson wide open, streaking down the sideline after a gorgeous double move. But maybe he would have hit him in stride if it was Devontae Adams. This guy's making a mockery of the New York Jets, and that's hard to do because you've seen what the New York Jets have been for the last 2 decades, a mockery, and people are defending it. Again, people that I consider smart and friends telling me today, it's not a Rodgers thing. You're lost. You're lost. Take the green jersey off. Take a deep breath. Go for a walk. It's beautiful in New York. Grab some fresh air and reevaluate what you're watching. It's a guy making a mockery of your franchise, and that should not be happening. A 2-3 football team this week, a home dog to the Buffalo Bills. The Jets entered this season as favorites to win the AFC East. And it took 5 games for them to be home dogs to another AFC East team. And there's not some big injury here. Buffalo's banged up as all get out. The Jets are largely a clean bill of health, outside of the fact they can't get Hassan Reddick to show up to the facility. Well, maybe if he was Aaron's buddy, he would have been there. It's embarrassing. It is embarrassing. The other big NFL news, and we'll get to this all tonight, within the AFC East, Drake May, the announced starter now for the New England Patriots. At home, they host the Houston Texans, coming off of a huge win against the aforementioned Buffalo Bills. This rookie quarterback class now all starting to take over, other than really Michael Penix Jr., and that does not just extend to the New England Patriots. The New Orleans Saints this weekend at home will likely be starting Spencer Rattler, rookie quarterback out of South Carolina, as Derek Carr is now set to miss multiple weeks of football after a fourth-quarter injury sustained to his oblique, which knocked him out for the remainder of that football game. Again, we will get to all of your NFL news here on this Tuesday night. But we do have MLB postseason action. We do have a run scored in the game between the Mets and the Phillies. At last look, that game 1-0 off a Pete Alonso home run. Continuing to have just an incredible, incredible postseason for this baseball team. Contract year. And we talk about Rodgers. You know, Pete Alonso is someone that New Yorkers should be proud of. I mean, you see, wears it on his sleeve. I get it. He doesn't hit for average. Few do. Dude hits bombs. Dude steps up. Pete Alonso brings the juice. He just does. He does. Phils went back to favorites to win this series after they took Game 2. An incredible game. It's been a very fun series so far between the Mets and the Phillies. It looks like it's going to be another fun game tonight. I did place action on some Philadelphia Phillies hitters, Kyle Schwarber and Bryce Harper, both over 1.5 hits, runs, RBIs. The reverse splits suggest they're in a good spot tonight. We'll see if it pays off. In Padres-Dodgers, San Diego is the new series favorite. Largely, look at this number tonight here, man. Come on now, minus 152 to win this game tonight with Michael King getting the baseball against Walker Buehler. I'm playing under the 8. King's been very, very good. I don't have much reason to think he slows down. I know Walker Buehler is a sell for everybody. This guy has an incredible postseason resume. He was only 1 earned run allowed in his most recent outing, and I think that this is a good chance to buy low. This has been a super explosive series, double-digit runs scored in each of the first 2 games. We're getting what I believe is the highest total so far of this baseball postseason at a flat 8, minus 115. I played it under tonight in Padres-Dodgers. Though I will say, I don't hate if you are a hit-run RBI player for some parlay pieces, Arise, Profar, Ohtani. There's a few guys I don't mind if you just kind of pair them up there and look for some plus money options when we're talking Padres-Dodgers. Again, San Diego flipping to the favorites now in this series. It is incredible to think about where the LA Dodgers had been all season long and a Game 2 loss, shooting them down the board. We've covered a lot here to open this show. We have the WNBA on deck with Coach James Young helping us out right here on SportsGrid.
I think the Washington Commanders are one of the best bets to win it all, or at the very least win the NFC.
Their offensive line, I do want to say one thing. It's very average. The coaching is good. They're getting good coaching from Bobby Johnson, their line coach, here from the Giants. But they've kind of overachieved. Let's call it like it is. Gales has taken them up. Look, that division's not very good, and they could very well win it over the Eagles and the Cowboys. They're not a Super Bowl team.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take. I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
I do think they come back, and I think they win this game, but they've got to do it decisively. I think they've got to get that confidence back because they went out there, and like I said earlier, Kentucky almost beat Georgia. Kentucky almost did beat Ole Miss, and I think what you're going to see in this conference, if you don't play well and you're a top 10 team in the SEC, you're going to get knocked out by one of those top 25 teams in the SEC if you're not ready to play.
Powered by SportsGrid.
He already has more than 1,000 yards. The last 3 running backs to win the Heisman, Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram, Reggie Bush, did not have more than 650 in their opening 5 games of the year. Ashton Genty on pace to strike the pose in December.
Statistics matter. Blow every record out of the water, and he will be a Heisman. Disgraceful performance by the head coach, not Gene.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, back right here, Game Time Decisions. We've hit a little bit of it all to start it off outside of the WNBA Finals, which will be set after tonight's game between the Connecticut Sun and the Minnesota Lynx. The Aces eliminated by the New York Liberty, which means we will not have a three-peat for Vegas and Aja Wilson. We have an opportunity, though, where we will either see the Minnesota Lynx or the Connecticut Sun punch their ticket to try and take down the New York Liberty, who have been priced as favorites in this league for quite some time. Let's bring in Coach James Young. JY, a lot of juice tonight for Minnesota, Connecticut.
Yeah, there is a lot of juice, and obviously, this series it's been interesting, Kevin, because you saw the first two games go under, not a lot of points. Last two games go over. But, you talk about game 7s in the NBA, game 5s in the WNBA. I think this is going to be a tightly contested, low-scoring affair tonight.
Well, you notice, JY, this total is very, very low, and I see you're indicating perhaps you'll be looking towards an under 150.5. This game, though, or this series, excuse me, we've seen 2 bang unders, 2 bang overs, Coach, and the 2 overs were the last 2 games that we've seen. The fact that this game last time out was 153.5, and we've seen it drop 3 points, suggests we're seeing a lot of under money come in tonight.
Yeah, you have a lot of under money coming tonight because you figure the games are close to the vest. And Kevin, I think the last game, both teams shot, I'm not mistaken, close to, one shot 39% from 3 and the other near 50. So you're going to think that defense is going to kind of hold true, walk the ball up the floor, contest every shot, don't want to foul. Starters play big minutes because it's win or go home, and it's both teams. And you have two of, let's be honest, Kevin, two of the better defensive teams in the WNBA squaring off, but also two of the slower paced teams facing off. So yes, a lot of great shot making in Game 4, but maybe it gets dialed back a little bit of nervous energy, particularly early in Game 5.
So would that look then, Coach, be on a first quarter under, first half under? How are you looking to attack this total here tonight?
Yeah, I like the under. I just think we're going to get this. Kevin, this game could play in the 60s tonight. Like look at the elimination game between Liberty and the Aces that went 76-62. Like it went to 138. Like I can see that happening. But if you want to just stay one way and not the other way, Kevin, how about Connecticut team total under 73.5 if you just go one way? Why? Number one, they're on the road. Home teams always shoot better in their own gym. Number two, this is the worst three-point shooting team in the regular season. Number three, they shot 53% from 3 in game number 4. You know the thing, Kevin. You make all your shots in one game, and then they start clanking on the next game. So I think Minnesota tightens its screws defensively. I like under 7. If you want to just go one way, and I love this more than over-under, I like Connecticut Sun under 73.5 points tonight.
JY, for me, I'm going to just look to what I think is a really nice price. It's a plus 120 for Naphisha Collier to lead this basketball game in scoring. Her ceiling is so much higher than the next closest player. If you look where she's now scored 26 and 29 in the last 2 games, we've seen Marina Mabry touch 20. We saw Brianna Jones get 21. Nobody else has been able to score over 20 in this series. I think what you're talking about is something we see all the time in basketball. The bigger the game, the more minutes are played. She played 37 minutes in game number 4. She's already had a 40-minute game in this series. She's had multiple 40-minute games in this playoffs due to her floor, her ceiling, the competition. I think Naphisha Collier should be a minus price to lead this game in scoring, and at plus 120, I couldn't pass it up.
Kevin, I don't disagree with you one bit. I just took a little bit of the safer route, and I just went Naphisha Collier minus 140 to get a double-double. You said it best. She's going to get the minutes, right? It's not going to be it's not going to be an up-and-down game, right? They can't check her. I don't see her getting into foul trouble. By the way, I know one of the officials on the game tonight. They better not be calling no fouls. They better let these two teams play it out, if you know what I'm saying, K-Dub. I just think it's going to be a slow-down game. Referees stay out of it. You like Naphisha Collier to lead the game in scoring, which I do agree with. That's a very smart play by you. I'm going to give the people another option. Just Naphisha Collier, double-double, minus 140.
All right, so a little double-double action there, JY. Now, we're going to talk, because JY is going to stick around a little bit about what how these teams could project against the New York Liberty and some of the prices there. The Liberty, though, right now, JY, are minus 360 to win the championship. I was a little taken aback by that number. I wouldn't have expected their series price to be that high against either one of these basketball teams. What do you think about that number on the Liberty?
I think that's pushing it, because if you look at it, the Minnesota Lynx won the season series, and Connecticut was 0-3 against New York. The only time they beat New York is after they got Marina Mabry, who we know is a really good defender, tough as you know what, hits the three. And if you look at her stats, she's from Jersey. She usually torches the Liberty. So to me, I was shocked to see that number at minus 360. I wonder, it depends on who wins, what happens, because I could see if Minnesota wins, those odds get worse for the Liberty because of the fact that maybe people will start to back Minnesota because of the fact that they match up pretty well, actually, with New York.
Yeah, I do definitely think it is likely that that number will drop if it is Minnesota who gets through, JY. It's a good point by you. But still, I wouldn't have expected a minus 360 number on Connecticut. And maybe it means that the number for the Liberty, if they do end up playing the Sun, minus 400, minus 450 could be coming, which, again, I think they're better than the Sun. I don't think that much better than the Connecticut Sun. It almost feels like the books finally saw the Liberty, put the Vegas Aces away, and they went, okay, this is runaway style. We thought New York was the best team in this league, but we had to keep their numbers shorter because of Vegas and the respect they've earned, and now we get this really big number. What does the rest advantage mean for the Liberty? That series will begin on Thursday. An early look ahead with coaches next.
I think the Washington Commanders are one of the best bets to win it all, or at the very least win the NFC.
Their offensive line, I do want to say one thing. It's very average. The coaching is good. They're getting good coaching from Bobby Johnson, their line coach. Here from the Giants, but they've kind of overachieved. Let's call it like it is. Gales has taken them up. Look, that division's not very good, and they could very well win it over the Eagles, and the Cowboys. They're not a Super Bowl team.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in the set than I do for this year. I am ready. I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Don?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
I do think they come back, and I think they win this game, but they've got to do it decisively. I think they've got to get that confidence back because they went out there, and like I said earlier, Kentucky almost beat Georgia. Kentucky almost did beat Ole Miss, and I think what you're going to see in this conference, if you don't play well and you're a top 10 team in the SEC, you're going to get knocked out by one of those top 25 teams in the SEC if you're not ready to play.
Powered by SportsGrid.
He already has more than 1,000 yards. The last three running backs to win the Heisman, Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram, Reggie Bush, did not have more than 650 in their opening 5 games of the year. Ashton Genty on pace to strike the pose in December.
Statistics matter. Blow every record out of the water, and he will be a Heisman. Disgraceful performance by the head coach, not Gene.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, back right here on SportsGrid. Coach James Young sticking around. JY, I appreciate you making a little bit of extra time. But since this series begins on Thursday, I know you'll be across the network covering it for people, but talk to me just how big of a rest advantage or how big of the rest gap here do you think is going to potentially be an advantage for the Liberty in this series against either the Lynx or the Sun, knowing that, they finished their series up on, I believe that was Saturday night, and, you're only going to get 1 day rest here for the winner of this game.
Yeah, and I think maybe you may see a little bit of rest advantage for New York Liberty early. I think what it's more about the fact that the game ends at, is 8 o'clock tonight. Probably they get on the plane. I would probably say, I would say you probably want to fly out in the morning and get to New York probably about midday.
Yep.
I don't think it's a huge advantage, but just more of an advantage that New York Liberty are at home. They're in their own beds. A lot of the players live right next door to the Barclays Center. So for them, it's just normal routine. But it's, either way, Kevin, it's going to be a hell of a matchup between whether it's Minnesota or Connecticut versus New York.
Yeah, it absolutely is there, JY. I'm curious, and then I'll let you go after this. Have you started to dive in to the finals MVP market? Stewie's even money. Ionescu's under 2-1. I know you've always thrown Jonquel Jones out there as options. She's sitting at 30-1. I'm assuming, and maybe I shouldn't, you're going to be looking Liberty. Have you started to parse through that market at all?
Yeah, I want to see the market in the morning as soon as the game ends, because I think the interesting play will be Nafisa Collier. Because she's going to be the number one go-to there. When it gets to someone like Connecticut, you can see multiple players. You can see Alyssa Thomas. You can see Dewana Bonner, who's, I think she's third in WNBA in points scored in the history of the playoffs. You can look at Marina Mabry. She gets hot from three. So I want to see the markets in the morning. I'm intrigued at Jonquel Jones just because of the sheer value at 30-1. Obviously going against Connecticut, her old team, she'll be able to take advantage of Brianna Jones by taking her outside. So to me, maybe Jonquel 30-1 as a value play, but I think, Kevin, I'll be more based on if it's Connecticut, I'll probably take a chance. Probably not Minnesota because she's probably going to Collier and probably gets into foul trouble.
All right, all stuff for us to keep our eye on. That is Coach James Young. We appreciate it, JY. 2 weeks away from the NBA season beginning. Let me just remind people, for me in this game tonight, plus 120. I know it's dropped a bit, plus 110. All good there. I'm getting even money, I think, on Nafisa Collier to lead this game tonight is the look. Backs up against the wall, gotta have it type of game. Expect plenty of volume. This is someone who averaged 40 in the 2 games against Phoenix. She scored 26 and 29 in her last 2 games. No other player has scored more than 21 so far within this series. So I think even if Collier tonight could go under her prop, which is 21.5, and you could still cash this ticket, especially if we get a lower scoring game like we are maybe projecting, the books are projecting, coach thinking that this plays under. It could be then even less volume then from others. If you wanted to try and kind of play a little bit of an aggressive alt, the one play that I would look would be Bridget Carlton coming off of a single-digit game. She has been excellent outside of the first month of the season, bouncing back from the rare single-digit performances that we see from her. 9.5 is her prop on the expensive side, minus 128, minus 130. You want to try a 15+, a 3+, a 4+ made threes market. I certainly don't mind that, but again, I'm going to stick to the Collier option here. An update with you on the Major League Baseball board. We're going to talk some baseball, talk some hockey, and talk some NFL. We've got Tom Vecchio on deck for you on this Tuesday night. But the Mets do lead 2-0. Jesse Winker hits the second solo shot of the game for the New York Mets to give them that 2-0 lead. Now in the bottom of the 5th with 2 outs right now, the Philadelphia Phillies are up against it a bit. But here's what's interesting. The Mets are a minus 530 favorite to win this game. Yet if you look right now, the World Series markets has the Phillies $1 shorter than the Mets. Plus 550 on the Philadelphia Phillies, plus 650 on the New York Mets. And those numbers don't even match the live National League market, where it's 270 Mets, 320 Phils. The Phillies are now actually the last team in the NL outright market. I think you're still seeing a lot of respect being given here from odds makers to the Philadelphia Phillies. The fact that they go tomorrow with Ranger Suarez against Quintana, I'm sure they'll take their chances. I think the big thing for the Phillies and anyone who's playing their futures is that in a Game 5, you expect the ball to go back to Zach Wheeler. And if the Phillies are at home with Zach Wheeler, they are going to be favored to win that baseball game. It doesn't mean they will, but it's what's going to keep those Phillies numbers very respected, I would say, right now in the market. Tom Vecchio next with us here on Game Time Decisions.
I think the Washington Commanders are one of the best bets to win it all, or at the very least win the NFC.
Their offensive line, I do want to say one thing. It's very average. The coaching is good. They're getting good coaching from Bobby Johnson, their line coach, here from the Giants. But they've kind of overachieved. Let's call it like it is. Gales has taken them up. Look, that division's not very good, and they could very well win it over the Eagles and the Cowboys. They're not a Super Bowl team.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. Brady, I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all season long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
I do think they come back, and I think they win this game, but they've got to do it decisively. I think they've got to get that confidence back because they went out there, and like I said earlier, Kentucky almost beat Georgia. Kentucky almost did beat Ole Miss, and I think what you're going to see in this conference, if you don't play well and you're a top 10 team in the SEC, you're going to get knocked out by one of those top 25 teams in the SEC if you're not ready to play.
Powered by SportsGrid.
He already has more than 1,000 yards. The last three running backs to win the Heisman, Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram, Reggie Bush, did not have more than 650 in their opening 5 games of the year. Ashton Genty on pace to strike the pose in December.
Statistics matter. Blow every record out of the water, and he will be a Heisman. Disgraceful performance by the head coach, not Gene.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, back to right here. We're on SportsGrid on a Tuesday night. We've got Tom Vecchio with us. Tom, it's been a while, man. How we feeling?
Yeah, it has been a little bit. I'm feeling great. It's the official opening night for the NHL, not counting the 2 games over the weekend in Prague. We got obviously mid-season when it comes to NFL. NBA is right around the corner before you know it. Baseball, playoffs, let's get to it.
Yeah, and again, for just in case somebody doesn't know, Tom, while he does excellent job with our NFL coverage, awesome betting the hockey. Also with baseball, with basketball, Tom does everything. So, Tom, let's go to the hockey then, since you bring it up here. The Panthers and Bruins, and then it is late night, the Utah Hockey Club making their debut against the Chicago Blackhawks. Are you betting either of those games?
I am, specifically the later game with Utah. And, as much as I love a narrative, which I'll get into, Chicago's not a good team, right? They weren't a good team last year. I think they will be better than they were last year, but overall, they're still not a good team. They're still projected to be one of the bottom teams in the league when it comes to points. They're going to give up a ton of goals. And while we have high expectation for Connor Bedard to take a big step in his second season, it's still not a good roster. So let's buy into a little bit of narrative. Clayton Keller was just named the captain for Utah, their first ever captain, their first ever home game. Let's check off some boxes when it comes to these fun narratives. But ultimately, Clayton Keller is an awesome goal scorer with 33, 37, and 28 goals over the past 3 seasons. He plays on the first forward line. First power play, you get it about plus 130 or plus 135. Like, this is checking off all the boxes because he has the role. He has great odds. And, yeah, we're backed by a little bit of a narrative tonight, so I certainly like it.
I am in that game. It'll be the launching point of the Connor Bedard future that I placed, Tom. And I'm curious, and again, I know you'll always be honest with me, but I tried to find a comparison point, and all I could go to was McDavid. Now, I wanted to be cautious because McDavid is lining up to be one of the greatest players the sport has ever seen, but that was the hype around Connor Bedard. His rookie season, 61 points in 68 games. McDavid had 48 points in 45 games. So, again, not one-to-one comparisons, but McDavid ended up with 100 points in his second season playing all 82 games. I look at Bedard, and I think at 79.5, that is very, very light. That is less than a point a game. He doesn't have to get a McDavid-level jump to be a point-per-game guy, and that preseason sample size was 6 points in 4 games, 5 assists, which is why I took an assist alt. 55 plus is at plus 300.
Yeah, and the point I made about Bedard last year, I don't know if I made it to you, but I made it to some other people, is the same thing. My same take for him this year is ultimately the talent around him has to elevate to his level, because he can make all these amazing moves, amazing passes, but he needs finishers around him. And last year when Taylor Hall got hurt and missed a good portion of the season, that takes talent away from him and thus impacts his overall production. So I'm on board with it. Again, they made some good moves. I'm not expecting a whole lot from them, but he can certainly get there if that talent can finish around him.
And the other bet that I placed, Tom, is on Igor Shesterkin, 4+ shutouts, 6+ shutouts. In the news a little bit today, not taking the record-breaking money that the New York Rangers offered him. Any thoughts on the bet and any concern about Igor's availability with the fact that the contract has not been settled?
No, love the bet. That should get there. It'll probably end close to the 5 to 6 range. I think the 4 should be safe. I saw a rumor that apparently he wants a 5-year deal to change the AAV. We have to work with the CBA changing, salary cap rising, so he maybe wants to align it with that. There's a lot going on. I have no concerns about him playing, though.
Yeah, I think that is one of the nice things of why this, again, for me was certainly a wager. And also I just think the fact, Tom, that him turning it down, you might get an even more locked-in version of Igor. One thing that jumped out, and tell me, so this stood out to me, maybe it's not a rarity, but I thought it was. 14 of his wins last year, he held the opponent to exactly 1 goal. To me, I see that as so many opportunities to add just 1 or 2 more shutouts. He had 4 last year, and that would get us to 6.
I would say yes, but we also have to look at the other side of the equation where 1 or 2 of those bounces and he's giving up 2 goals in those games. So, if you're buying into the variance, and this is the same thing when I talk about home runs, we want the pendulum to swing in our favor. It can swing the other way, but if we split the difference of those 14 games, half them go or 30% go one way, 30% go the other way, we are at 6+. So yeah, I'm on board with buying into variance like I do for home runs. So yeah.
I love when things you made me like my bet more. Of the 14 games, I'll trade you 10 of those where he gives up 2 goals.
Right.
For 4 shutouts, all of a sudden now I've got a record-breaking, not that 8 shutouts would be record-breaking, but it would get through every number listed on the board. Tom, with the NFL game coming up on Thursday, it features a Niners team who should be better than 2-3. We'll say that with the double-digit fourth-quarter leads blown in 2 of the 3 losses. But here's the thing. They are 2-3. And now they go to a Seattle team who's going to be extra dialed in with having lost 2 games, including the home one to the New York Giants. Not that Seattle was ever projected to be an easy one, but man, this is now a tough task for the Niners, who, again, a field goal favorite is not some monster number. A loss, we're talking about 2-4 for the defending NFC champions. What are you looking at heading into that game?
When Casey and I did this, preview this game very quickly last night after the Monday night game, when we do our previews, love the under. Absolutely love the under. All those things you said. 2 of the last 3 weeks for the 49ers, these blown fourth-quarter leads. We have the Seahawks, after truly being tested for the first time against the Lions. They're now on a 2-game losing streak. I think this game is all about the under, divisional, grind-it-out type of game. I think this is a chance for the 49ers to kind of right the ship after, like you said, these blown fourth-quarter leads when they're up against the Rams, they're up against the Cardinals, and they can't close it out against what are clearly inferior teams, especially the Rams, with the injuries that they have. I love Jordan Mason in this game over 82.5. We saw Tyrone Tracy run all over the Seahawks. And again, if we're looking at this game from essentially the game script that I'm building, the 49ers need to keep things in control. And that means less Brock Purdy scrambling around. As you saw against the Cardinals, he's scrambling all over the place, not necessarily running, but he's just all over the place in the pocket, moving around. They need to control the game on the ground. Under is the play, over on Jordan Mason, maybe over on Geno because he still has to sling the ball, and I think under on Tyler Lockett as well, because they're just not going to be moving the ball through the air efficiently, and if it is going to be efficiently, it's going to be JSN and DK Metcalf. So I love over Mason. We saw Gibbs and Monty run all over them. It's a ground game on Thursday.
Yeah, I am really interested to see if Jordan Mason even slightly coughed up some of his workload with that fumble. It would be unfair, Tom, to say that he is the sole reason they lost that game. Obviously, that was a big moment. But the kid Isaac Guerrero has a little bit of juice to him. Again, Mason's been very good, Tom, but he's not McCaffrey. It's easier to lose your job when you're Jordan Mason.
Yes, I would agree. Guerrero is a player that I have on one of my dynasty teams. I drafted him back in August because I'm a believer just buying into backups, especially on run-heavy offenses that we can see from the 49ers. And it wouldn't shock me if we see one of these players take a few carries away. Like you said, Jordan Mason ultimately is was an undrafted free agent. I think he's good, but I think that ultimately the system in front of him with the line and ultimately the play calling, that's what makes him great. If he was this good of a runner, he would have been drafted. So the system can make any running back look good. And if you just want to buy into that variance in terms of ambiguity in the backfield, absolutely buy into a back up in that backfield.
Yeah, quickly, Tom, before we let you get out of here, anything that you looked for in tonight's game between the Padres and the Dodgers with a really big one in the NLDS?
It'll probably be Walker Buehler under 13.5 outs. It was sitting at minus 135 or so. He just hasn't been good. I've spoken about him before. He did apparently get robbed of his watch the other day outside of the stadium by some people. So maybe he's got some extra motivation, but under 13.5 outs for Walker Buehler tonight.
Do you feel that people are dismissing him a little too easily? Like, this guy still has a great postseason pedigree, Tom.
Years ago, I said to Greg Sussman, I said that if I could bet the over on Walker Buehler total career Cy Youngs, I would hammer the over. I was a massive believer in his talent, and the injuries over the past few years have really derailed his career.
All right, a sell tonight on Walker Buehler. We'll certainly keep our eyes on it, no doubt about it. That is Tom Vecchio. We appreciate it. As always, we've got Joe Madden coming up next right here. It's Game Time Decisions.
I think the Washington Commanders are one of the best bets to win it all, or at the very least win the NFC.
Their offensive line, I do want to say one thing. It's very average. The coaching is good. They're getting good coaching from Bobby Johnson, their line coach, here from the Giants. But they've kind of overachieved. Let's call it like it is. Gales has taken them up. Look, that division's not very good, and they could very well win it over the Eagles and the Cowboys. They're not a Super Bowl team.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. Brady, I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
I do think they come back, and I think they win this game, but they've got to do it decisively. I think they've got to get that confidence back because they went out there, and like I said earlier, Kentucky almost beat Georgia. Kentucky almost did beat Ole Miss, and I think what you're going to see in this conference, if you don't play well and you're a top 10 team in the SEC, you're going to get knocked out by one of those top 25 teams in the SEC if you're not ready to play.
Powered by SportsGrid.
He already has more than 1,000 yards. The last three running backs to win the Heisman, Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram, Reggie Bush, did not have more than 650 in their opening 5 games of the year. Ashton Genty on pace to strike the pose in December.
Statistics matter. Blow every record out of the water, and he will be a Heisman. Disgraceful performance by the head coach, not Gene.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Joe's there. We're here. All right, listen, something that happened. It's live TV. Joe, can you hear me? Are we good? Are we rolling?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Fantastic, Joe. Always great. Again, I look forward to getting together here on these Tuesdays. Typically, we've been handling a lot of Major League Baseball. We look towards the NFL, but I have to tonight show some respect with the NHL back in full effect. I know there are only 2 more games to go, but I am sure that you are locked and loaded for the NHL tonight. Start with the defending champs, the Panthers, hosting the Boston Bruins. What are you looking for in this one?
I'm looking for a fantastic matchup. We know the Florida Panthers are going to be hoisting their banner tonight, and they're going to be so excited. They're going to come out just gunning on the ice, Kevin. They're going to be ready to take on the Boston Bruins, a team that they kicked out of the playoffs last season on their run. Now, the Boston Bruins won't forget that, and we know in the regular season, the Boston Bruins really did have the upper hand. I do think there's a couple of key pieces missing from Florida this season that's really going to hurt them, especially Brandon Montour. He was so phenomenally strong for them on that power play. And I think the Florida Panthers are going to miss him. Now, they do have their core back, though, and this team is ready to go. These teams play again just next week, Kevin. And I do think in this one, you look at the situation here for Boston, they want revenge. And I do think with the plus money you're getting on the Bruins, it's definitely worth taking the Boston Bruins tonight. I think they have every opportunity to come out, play a hard, tough game here versus the Florida Panthers and get the win. Now, we look at the additions that the Boston Bruins have made this season. Elias Lindholm, I really do think will give them another person to help offensively, and Zadorov will pick up right where he left off for Vancouver over here for the Boston Bruins. So the defense got stronger. Offensively, they got stronger. Now, still, we haven't got confirmation on who the goaltender will be tonight. Swayman signed that deal, and because Swayman signed the deal late, he didn't participate in, training camp preseason. And I don't blame him for that. Korpisalo is the backup. Now, he was with Ottawa. And if you're looking kind of sideways at Korpisalo, don't. I really do think he didn't have a good shake with the Ottawa Senators. And I think he comes out really strong for the Boston Bruins. I think both of these goaltenders will get their fair share of play during the season. I'm going to look, though, at the first period here. We know Bobrovsky's strong. We know both of the goaltenders for Boston are strong, but I do think offensively, these teams pick it up in that first period. I'm looking for the first period over 1.5 goals. I'm also looking for both teams to score. You're getting way more value on the both teams to score, Kevin. That's coming in right around the plus 190. For the Boston Bruins to get the win. There's also some great things over on FanDuel. First period player props. I'm taking Sam Reinhart for an anytime goal tonight of the Florida Panthers. I'm also going to look at him for that first period goal. It's coming in around plus 800. And then David Pastrnak here of the Boston Bruins. I can see him scoring in the first period as well. He's right around that plus 900 for the first period goal, and for a game goal, he's coming in at plus 130, Kevin.
Joe, just talk to me with the Panthers again being the defending champs, and I know we did some futures a week or so ago right here on the show, but how are you lining up the Stanley Cup prices? Do you feel that there's some value on Florida, or is there another team that's really caught your attention?
You know what? There really is, Kevin, and I'm just pulling up what those odds are right now for the Stanley Cup. We do have the Edmonton Oilers coming in as the favorite at plus 850, and I understand this. Connor McDavid's going to have a fire lit under him after what happened in Game 7 last season. He's really going to put that weight on his shoulders, and I do think the Edmonton Oilers have every opportunity to make it back to the Stanley Cup Finals. For the Florida Panthers to do so, we're going to have to see how they are without Brandon Montour. He was one of the best scoring defensemen out there in the league, and he's gone over to the Seattle Kraken this season, leaving in free agency. So I do think that is a huge hole for the Florida Panthers. I love this team, and I love all of the elements they bring, but I think you can't sleep here on the New Jersey Devils. Kevin, this team was over in Prague. They were able to get the 2 wins over the Buffalo Sabres, and people are saying same old Sabres. No, not same old Sabres. This Sabres team, I do think, can make the playoffs as well. It is the New Jersey Devils are just so good. You can still jump in on some markets for the New Jersey Devils. For the Stanley Cup, they're plus 1,100. I'd also look at Jack Hughes. Now, I took him for 100-plus points on the season. That number has gone up to 110-plus, where you're getting the value. You're getting that right around plus 330 right now for him for 110-plus. I do think it's a market you want to look at, because Jack Hughes has to be the catalyst on this team offensively and get those points on the board. As long as he stays healthy, I see him there. But adding Jacob Markstrom in net, This is going to be the difference maker with this team. So I think the New Jersey Devils are worth a look for the Stanley Cup at plus 1,100. There's so much great talent. I could see if it's not the New Jersey Devils, though, the Rangers coming out. The New York Rangers at plus 1,300. This team has phenomenal talent. We know that, Kevin.
Yeah, I didn't dive so far into the NHL futures that I was placing, Stanley Cups or things like that. You got to listen. I'm a hockey guy, but you got to play to your strengths here. We got some Bedard, we got some Igor. If I were to play one, though, I would look the Rangers' direction. Just off of last season, they were one of the very best teams in the league, and I know they won the President's Cup. Them not being able to cross the finish line, it wasn't overly surprising, but man, it's not that they weren't of that level. And the fact that they're 13-1, it just feels 5 teams with shorter odds. It's not by a lot. That's the NHL. That's the futures market, right? It's way different than the NFL or the NBA where the 5th team is triple, quadruple, right? The favorite. But still, 5 teams sitting in front of the New York Rangers. It felt like quite a lot at that 13-1 number. If I, again, were to consider it, that's where it would be. Joe, I've asked Tom, I'm placing an Igor Shesterkin 4+ shutouts and 6+ shutouts wagers here for the season, so I could check in nightly with the Rangers and look for hopefully not a lot of goals.
Yeah, I love that you're going there with Igor. We know Igor Shesterkin is so phenomenally strong, and the likelihood of him getting 4 shutouts is so good that I think you do ladder it up to that 6. So I love that, Kevin. I haven't looked at that market as of yet.
Yeah, I did also place some Connor Bedard futures, and he is in action against the Utah Hockey Club. Tonight we'll get Joe's thoughts on that, as well as Padres-Dodgers next here on SportsGrid.
I think the Washington Commanders are one of the best bets to win it all, or at the very least win the NFC.
Their offensive line, I do want to say one thing. It's very average. The coaching is good. They're getting good coaching from Bobby Johnson, their line coach, here from the Giants. But they've kind of overachieved. Let's call it like it is. Gales has taken them up. Look, that division is not very good, and they could very well win it over the Eagles and the Cowboys. They're not a Super Bowl team.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in the set than I do for this year. Brady, I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all season long.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take.
I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
I do think they come back, and I think they win this game, but they've got to do it decisively. I think they've got to get that confidence back because they went out there, and like I said earlier, Kentucky almost beat Georgia. Kentucky almost did beat Ole Miss, and I think what you're going to see in this conference, if you don't play well and you're a top 10 team in the SEC, you're going to get knocked out by one of those top 25 teams in the SEC if you're not ready to play.
Powered by SportsGrid.
He already has more than 1,000 yards. The last 3 running backs to win the Heisman, Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram, Reggie Bush, did not have more than 650 in their opening 5 games of the year. Ashton Genty on pace to strike the pose in December.
Statistics matter. Blow every record out of the water, and he will be a Heisman. Disgraceful performance by the head coach, not Gene.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Oh, sorry, folks. Right back with you here on SportsGrid on this Tuesday night. Kevin Walsh joined by Joe Madden. Joe, we've got the Blackhawks and the Hockey Club going. The Hockey Club in action here tonight. What do you think of this game?
Kevin, it's just got to be Utah until they change the ending of their name here. But this is going to be a really good game for player props, I do think. The books think this is going to be a higher scoring game. That total has moved to 6.5. And I'm circling players out here because Utah's just too juicy straight up on the money line. And I do think with this franchise starting off here, they're going to get the win in front of their new home fans. And talking about those new home fans, they don't know that no one likes Gary Bettman because I saw him interviewed and they were cheering for him in Utah. They don't know that the hockey world is not in love with him. So they're going to learn that nice and quick. But looking at this here, I do think you look at Connor Bedard. You talked about him. You got props on him. And Connor Bedard coming out here for the Chicago Blackhawks, I do think makes a statement in this game. I'm going to take him for the anytime goal. That's coming in at plus 175. And I do think he's worth a sprinkle for 2+ goals at plus 1,200. Now, you got to look at who is going to help him get those goals as well. I'm going to take Tyler Bertuzzi for his point. And then I'm also going to look here at Teravainen. It's a mouthful to say. Teravainen for his anytime point tonight. I do think he could get a couple here with Connor Bedard. He's going to be on the top power play line with him as well as the top line. So Teravainen coming in for that anytime point at minus 115. I do think they come by assists. So if you want to look at that assist market, you're going to get more value on Teravainen there. But Connor Bedard for the goal. Connor Bedard for 2+ goals. And then you could look at Tyler Bertuzzi coming over from the Leafs. I think it's a solid way. And when we look over at Utah, Clayton Keller, phenomenally strong out there at getting those goals. We know his offensive production last season, but then you could also look here deeper down. Logan Cooley, he's fantastic out there on the ice. He's coming in at plus 290 for that anytime goal, and I'm definitely going to be circling him. Kevin, as far as Connor Bedard for the season, I'm looking at him in the first 10 games to be able to get a hat trick. You can still jump in on that market. Right now for Connor Bedard to get that hat trick, it is coming in at plus 750. He only has to get one in these first 10 games, and I think he has that opportunity here tonight.
All right, I like it. Connor Bedard this season over 79.5 points, as well as 55+ assists at plus 300 for me. Joe, let's go to the baseball. The Padres favorites at home against the Los Angeles Dodgers, an important one in this NLDS matchup. What do you like?
Such an important matchup here because we know the team that takes game 3 ultimately has such a better opportunity of taking it all. So I'm looking here at the San Diego Padres. I think they have every opportunity with Michael King to be able to get the win, but I'm going to play around with a couple of things, Kevin. I do think here it's the lineup of the Dodgers is so phenomenally strong. My problem is I don't trust Buehler. Everyone not trusting Buehler, though, gives me a little bit of concern, but I do trust Michael King in the first 5 more than I do trust Buehler in the first 5. I'm going to take the Padres on the run line, laying a half a goal in that first 5. You can also look at the money line because you're not laying too much juice on that money line, but in the run line, laying a half a goal is minus 120. I also think their team total over 4.5 runs at plus 118 is in the market today because we're looking at a team that we know can have that offensive production. And if Buehler comes out as shaky as I expect him to, I do think they get those runs on the board. And then lastly, Ohtani actually got 2 more bets. Ohtani, he hasn't stolen a base in the last couple of games here versus the Padres, but we saw him to finish up that regular season. He was getting those stolen bases, at least 1 a game for 11 straight games. So I think he could get one tonight. It's plus 168. And Tatis Jr. to hit that home run. He's just been absolute fire, Kevin. He's coming in at plus 320 for the home run tonight.
Yeah, this is going to be I think it's going to be a great one. The series has been electric so far. I am looking to slow that down a little, though. Played under 8 in this game at minus 115. Looking to kind of sell high on what's the highest total we've seen so far this baseball postseason. Hockey is back. Baseball heating up. Joe Madden helping us figure it all out. Joe, we appreciate it.
Thanks, Kevin. You guys, all the best out there. The St. Louis Blues leading the Seattle Kraken right now, 3-2.
Yes, because hockey, in its incredible ways, 4:30 on their real opening day. The NHL, no interest in doing things normally. Let's just be honest. Let's be honest. What are you going to do? What you're going to do is talk some college football with the Take 5 next.
I think the Washington Commanders are one of the best bets to win it all, or at the very least win the NFC.
Their offensive line, I do want to say one thing. It's very average. The coaching is good. They're getting good coaching from Bobby Johnson, their line coach, here from the Giants. But they've kind of overachieved. Let's call it like it is. Gales has taken them up. Look, that division's not very good, and they could very well win it over the Eagles and the Cowboys. They're not a Super Bowl team.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. Brady, I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all season long.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take. I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
I do think they come back, and I think they win this game, but they've got to do it decisively. I think they've got to get that confidence back because they went out there, and like I said earlier, Kentucky almost beat Georgia. Kentucky almost did beat Ole Miss, and I think what you're going to see in this conference, if you don't play well and you're a top 10 team in the SEC, you're going to get knocked out by one of those top 25 teams in the SEC if you're not ready to play.
Powered by SportsGrid.
He already has more than 1,000 yards. The last three running backs to win the Heisman, Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram, Reggie Bush, did not have more than 650 in their opening 5 games of the year. Ashton Genty on pace to strike the pose in December.
Statistics matter. Blow every record out of the water, and he will be a Heisman. Disgraceful performance by the head coach, not Gene.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Back right here on Game Time Decisions for the second installment of KW's Take 5. Last week we dived into the NFL MVP market. We settled on Brock Purdy. And honestly, considering it was 18-1 and he lost and it's 19-1, that's not so bad. That is not so bad. And man, could he have really chopped into that number if they didn't blow another game this year, that one again to the Arizona Cardinals. We saw some movement for C.J. Stroud, which we had talked about. Mahomes, Fields comes crashing down. He's very likely going to lose his job. The Tua argument remains the same. The win in a low-scoring effort is good if you are still looking to take that big bomb price. This week, though, for the Take 5, we go from the pro ranks to the college ranks and give what I believe are the 5 best bets you can make to make or miss the college football playoff. You are loaded with options in these markets. And there are a number of correlated wagers when you really try and dive in here. If you like this team to miss, it's because you think they make. And again, vice versa. I'll tell you, not making the cut is anything that relates to Ole Miss, LSU. If Ole Miss wins, they're probably in. I don't really like them in the game, though. LSU's money line is a better number than Ole Miss to miss the college football playoff. So we're always trying to find the best of the number. And you might be seeing the best of the number with what I believe is the 5th best bet you can make, believe it or not, on the Utah Utes at plus 310. Maybe I am insane. I, of all people, feel I should know better. But I think Cam Rising is coming back this Friday against Arizona State. And with Cam Rising, Utah was dominant. Now, that was about 5 quarters of football, but considering they've only lost the 1 game without him, and I think the fact that they lost it without him would give them grace in the outright market. If Utah returns Cam Rising and runs the table, I think they could survive losing the Big 12 championship, which makes that plus 310 more tempting than, say, a plus 450 number as it pertains to the Utes to win the Big 12 championship. You could find those numbers at 5-1. Now, I will let you know, as I let you know last week, while you could bet all of these if you want, right? There's plenty of connections here. I'm only going to bet my number one ranked item. That's due to being tied into a number of preseason make misses and not wanting to overextend in the market. We could find some better opportunities. But if you're looking for a chance to make a number of bets, or perhaps you disagree with how I've ranked them, I think the Utes is one of the 5 best you can make at plus 310. The fourth, best bet you can make is a plus 150 ticket on Texas A&M. The Aggies are wildly underranked by this AP poll. And I wonder if that is what is allowing a plus 150 number to sit out there in the market. Compare it to the aforementioned Ole Miss, whose case and resume side by side with A&M doesn't even remotely hold up, yet sit inside the top 10 and are a minus money favorite to make it. Texas A&M's loss at home to Notre Dame, nowhere near as bad when you consider the Irish are back well inside the top 15, and Ole Miss lost to a Kentucky team who is still not ranked. Kentucky's best, or Ole Miss's best win just happened against South Carolina. It doesn't come close, not close, to Texas A&M's victory that they had against Missouri. Plus, we have seen 2 other SEC wins this year for Ole Miss, who's played far more games against non-power opponents this year. You project out the A&M schedule, the only remaining ranked teams at the moment, LSU and Texas, home for both. You could split those, and you absolutely can make it in at 10-2. In fact, if there's enough chaos around you, you're probably going to have to beat Texas. But if that's the last piece of evidence we see from A&M, they could still get in at plus 150. I think A&M is one of the 5 best bets you can make. At 24-1, the third best bet you can make. It's on the UNLV running Rebs. UNLV will look to be the highest-ranked G5 champion. Well, losing in overtime to Syracuse shouldn't really mess anything up, and yet we see this number free fall after the loss. Why? Again, their standings in the Mountain West are untouched. The loss, not all that bad. Hughes is receiving votes. It was in overtime by 3. Plus, UNLV already has power wins against Houston and Kansas. I know those teams aren't great. They were both on the road. What's not on the road? UNLV's game against Boise State. You win that game, and very likely UNLV will have the best odds on the board of any of these G5 teams. There's a 0 missing when you compare this UNLV number to make the playoffs with their number to win the Mountain West. And again, with the way Boise right now is grabbing headlines, winning the Mountain West could be the key to making the college football playoff. That is a great bomb price there on the running Rebs at 24-1. Your second best option, the most unbiased man in the history of sports media. I've said it from the jump. I believe they are worthy of a top 10 ranking. I believe they would be in if it ended today. It doesn't. It is Notre Dame to miss the college football playoff at plus 120. Simply put, if Notre Dame loses any of their games before that trip to Southern California against the Trojans, they have to be done. The win at A&M is incredible. The win against Louisville is solid. I don't care how bad Purdue is. Beating that team by 60 in their building is incredible. They lost to Northern Illinois, who was going to end up being a somewhat run-of-the-mill team at the G5 level. losing to Georgia Tech or Navy or Army, which is all on the board. Navy and Army are both 5-0. Georgia Tech is better than anticipated. Virginia's better than anticipated. You know you're going to get a Super Bowl level effort out of Florida State. You know it. You're going to get one this week against Stanford. You are. If they lose one of those games, they are likely done. Here's the thing. Even if they win all of them, I'm not sure they survive if their final piece of evidence to the committee is a loss at, especially if they're unranked, USC Trojans football team. And if you're getting a plus 120 money line there, essentially, which is what that number is, it's not that bad. Those 4 bets, all considerations. I could place them all, but I am only placing one. At plus 400, the best playoff bet you can place in college football right now is Alabama to miss the college football playoff at a monster plus 400. Remember, this team was even money to make the playoff preseason. Okay, they beat Georgia. They lost to Vanderbilt. Vanderbilt, I know they're better than years prior. It's Vanderbilt. Now we look at the rest of the schedule. At Tennessee, at LSU, I expect a loss on their plate. And the remaining games outside of that, we move Mercer aside. South Carolina, Missouri, Auburn, and then at Oklahoma. If this team loses 2 more games, by the way, the win total, 9.5. It's 2-1. It's 2-1. We're getting double that. A 9-3 Alabama, I believe, can be left out of the college football playoff. And at plus 400, it is the best bet that you can make in the make-miss market for the CFP this season, and the bet that I did make. Up next, we'll talk more hockey and baseball with George Kurtz.
I think the Washington Commanders are one of the best bets to win it all, or at the very least win the NFC.
Their offensive line, I do want to say one thing. It's very average. The coaching is good. They're getting good coaching from Bobby Johnson, their line coach, here from the Giants. But they've kind of overachieved. Let's call it like it is. Gales has taken them up. Look, that division's not very good, and they could very well win it over the Eagles and the Cowboys. They're not a Super Bowl team.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. Brady, I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take. I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
I do think they come back, and I think they win this game, but they've got to do it decisively. I think they've got to get that confidence back because they went out there, and like I said earlier, Kentucky almost beat Georgia. Kentucky almost did beat Ole Miss, and I think what you're going to see in this conference, if you don't play well and you're a top 10 team in the SEC, you're going to get knocked out by one of those top 25 teams in the SEC if you're not ready to play.
Powered by SportsGrid.
He already has more than 1,000 yards. The last 3 running backs to win the Heisman, Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram, Reggie Bush, did not have more than 650 in their opening 5 games of the year. Ashton Genty on pace to strike the pose in December.
Statistics matter. Blow every record out of the water, and he will be a Heisman. Disgraceful performance by the head coach, not Gene.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
Oh, we're back in the mix. It's Game Time Decisions. We're live right now with the Mets and the Phillies, a 4-0 New York lead. Talking a little baseball, a little hockey, a little football, Mr. Everything. That is George Kurtz. George, how we feeling?
Feeling good. You just said it, right? We got baseball playoffs today, right? We're just about week 6 on a couple of days here. And then the NHL season, 3 games today. The North American schedule has begun today. Only 3 national games today. The season really begins tomorrow. But this is my favorite time of year, Kevin. Favorite time of year, man. For me, I got all 3 sports hitting in October.
A lot of good. I know you could care less that basketball is 2 weeks away, but I'm excited. And then you'll get 4 rocking and rolling there, George. George, you said something, though, during the commercial break as it pertained to the way all of these divisional series are lining up in Major League Baseball. Can you kind of share with the people how you're feeling right now and kind of why that might be?
I'm starting to wonder if all 4 division winners are going to go down.
Mm-hmm.
All right, the Yankees, Phillies, Dodgers, and Cleveland. All right, Dodgers, they're in a lot of trouble, right? Walker Buehler going tonight, who is not the Walker Buehler we're used to, and you're going up against Michael King. I think it's a big advantage for San Diego. It's back in San Diego. And by the way, if you're a baseball fan and not watching that game, I don't know what to tell you. These 2 teams hate each other. I'm dying to see what's going to happen tonight in this game here. So I think Dodgers are in trouble here. The Yankees, you and I are big Yankee fans, but they're not playing very well. All right, 3 for 19 runs in scoring position. They've had the problems on defense. The run in scoring position is not surprising. It's something that's really haunted the Yankees through every postseason for the past 10, 12 years, or whatever it might be. They get players on base but cannot drive them in. Going against Lugo tomorrow. Last time Lugo faced the Yankees, which was about, 3 weeks ago, he shut him down completely. The Yankees weren't close to hitting him there. And then, even Garrett Cole, he'd go tomorrow in Game 4, Thursday in a possible elimination Game 4. He didn't look all that good, right, Saturday in Game 1. He won because the Yankees actually did score some runs in that game. So the Yankees could be in trouble there. Philadelphia, they're the Yankees in the National League. They can't score. All right, they're losing again to the Mets here 4-0 in the 7th here. They'll be down 2-1. They may go down in 4. I'm just not sure they're going to go back to Philadelphia. And then Cleveland probably has the best chance to win. I think we all thought Schuler would beat Detroit, would beat Cleveland yesterday. I know, it was really they beat Clase in the bullpen here, but we thought Detroit would win that game here. So Cleveland might still have the best chance to move on, but I think at least 3 or 4 are going down, if not all 4. And Kevin, all we're going to hear all offseason, baseball has to fix this. It's just not fair. These teams had a week off. That's going to be the talk.
Yeah, George, you're not going to have to wait. You're going to hear it right now. They better fix it. They better fix it. Because this is a joke. You do not, as a professional league, show up to your divisional series and present opening week of March, anything could happen. 2 seeds are beating 15 seeds. George, if what you just said plays out, of the 7 best records in Major League Baseball, 1 of them will advance to the championship series. George, the proof will be in the pudding. How many years do you need to see the teams getting buys with home field advantage who spent the full season better than their opponent getting eliminated before we change the format, George?
I agree with you. All right, the postseason is not a representative of what the regular season is like, right? There are 2 different seasons here. How you do in the regular season. The postseason is more of a sprint here, but the teams that win the wild card round, I understand maybe you can't line up your pitching correctly. All right, the teams that have the bye do. And most teams will tell you they'd rather have the bye. I get that. But the Yankees and Cleveland, by the way, not the National League teams, they're a little different, will have played 3 games in 10 days come tomorrow. 3 games in 10 days. That's not
George.
That
George, this is what I don't. Yeah, I'm sorry. It's not a league to be taken serious. You're calling it a sprint. I get why. Baseball's whole thing is we play every day, 3 games in 10 days. What are we doing? What are we doing? And for anybody that thinks that this is because I'm a Yankee fan, you're dead wrong. I've been saying this all year, and my bigger gripe is the National League side of it versus the American League. I know that the Padres have looked so dangerous for so long. All year, pillar to post, the Dodgers and the Phillies have been the 2 best teams in the National League. And if they both go down, both of them, George, there's too much. It's overwhelming at that point. Baseball's selling point cannot be we have the longest regular season with the most games, and when we get to the playoffs, none of it matters. Throw it out. It was the biggest waste of time you've ever seen.
I agree with you. I totally agree. I don't know how you fix it, though, because I don't want the wild card to be 1 game. I don't want that.
I do.
don't think that's
it's very
fair
simple, George, and I know you're going to hate it. I know you are, but it's going to happen. We're going to add another 2 teams in both leagues, and you will get 8 American League teams, 8 National League teams, and the buys are done. And that's what's going to happen. It's the simplest fix.
It is, but that means that, back in the day, and I'm probably going way past what a lot of our listeners and viewers are, that's the NHL, where it's more than half the league made the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's what you're saying here.
But it's the standard across American sports now, George. It just is.
I know. But boy, that'll be a big fight too, because the union fought that back, right? That'll be a big. What are you going to give the union to get that to happen there? That'll be another argument there. But you're right. It is the easiest fix. You are correct by far. 1-8, 2-7, 3-6, 4-5. There you go. But doesn't it also water down winning the division? Now, granted, once again, you're facing the 8th team, which should be a terrible team. What would that team be this year in the American League? The White Sox? It's a joke. But you get my point. So theoretically, you still have a major advantage there. So I'm wrapping it around in my head. Would I rather keep the format the way it is, or would I rather go to the 1 versus 8? And I probably do lean your way, because this way is not working. So something different has to happen.
And to be clear, George, I actually, truly, I know this will sound crazy, 162 games is so many games. I might be fine if we just start in the Champions Series. Yanks, Guardians, Phillies, Dodgers. That's it. We're done. And I'm done running into the NFL season. But I know people don't want that. But I get what you're saying, that there's a watered down winning the division. It is currently now a negative to be the best team in your league. That is not a thing in sports. That is not how this works. It is crazy. It is actually nuts. And that is the consistent product now since they've changed this format. And I'm telling you, when it comes to the futures market, you are not going to get people to bet this stuff if this is the way it's going to play out. It's just, you're not. We'll talk a little NHL with George, a little NFL if we've got some time. We'll be right back.
I think the Washington Commanders are one of the best bets to win it all, or at the very least win the NFC.
Their offensive line, I do want to say one thing. It's very average. The coaching is good. They're getting good coaching from Bobby Johnson, their line coach. Here from the Giants, but they've kind of overachieved. Let's call it like it is. The analysts has taken them up. Look, that division's not very good, and they could very well win it over the Eagles, and the Cowboys. They're not a Super Bowl team.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. Brady, I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from, just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take. I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
I do think they come back, and I think they win this game, but they've got to do it decisively. I think they've got to get that confidence back, because they went out there, and like I said earlier, Kentucky almost beat Georgia. Kentucky almost did beat Ole Miss, and I think what you're going to see in this conference, if you don't play well and you're a top 10 team in the SEC, you're going to get knocked out by one of those top 25 teams in the SEC if you're not ready to play.
Powered by SportsGrid.
He already has more than 1,000 yards. The last 3 running backs to win the Heisman, Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram, Reggie Bush, did not have more than 650 in their opening 5 games of the year. Ashton Genty on pace to strike the pose in December.
Statistics matter. Blow every record out of the water, and he will be a Heisman. Disgraceful performance by the head coach, not Gene.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, George, talk to me quickly. NHL, there's 2 games tonight. I think they're doing the ceremony for the Panthers right now. Are you betting these games? Are you loading up for tomorrow's slate? How are we feeling heading into the hockey season?
Of course, we're betting these games, right? 3 games going on today, and it started off pretty well so far. I was on St. Louis here. We're going to go against Boston here because Swayman's not going to play goal. All right, he just signed a massive contract a couple of days ago. Korpisalo's in that. I think Korpisalo will be better than what he was with Ottawa and such, but I don't trust him. So I'm going away there. Give me the Florida Panthers. Even though I guess this goes against Scotty Wetzel's little theory, right, about go against teams having a celebration thing. So he's probably on Boston. But I'm going to go with Florida here. And then we got the night game. This one's a little tougher. Utah, they are the former Arizona Coyotes. Same team. They play in Utah rather than Arizona. They're playing the Chicago Blackhawks, who I think are better here. You're laying a big price. A big price with I shouldn't say a bad team, for an okay team at best. That's a pretty big price here, Kevin. So I'm not laying the 176 here. I'm going to take a little shot here on under goal and a half first period, and I'm thinking about maybe lay the goal and a half too with with Utah. See if they come out flying tonight.
Yeah, I think that's going to be interesting just to kind of see if the fact that it's the same team, but it's not. It's an odd thing, right? Where Vegas was kind of this whole brand new team, so that is not right. That's not that clean comparison point there, George. It makes the Utah situation a very unique one. Are you invested futures-wise with the NHL season, Cup, or awards, or anything like that?
Oh, well, we can't play awards here because I live in New York. All right, God forbid we should be allowed to do that. I'll never understand that, bro. Never. Why? What do they think? I'm going out there and I'm bribing somebody. Oh, listen, make sure you vote for McDavid. Like anybody needs me to tell them that. That's why the awards. So I think McDavid probably wins here. Vezina, I would go with Shesterkin. Calder, that's the Rookie of the Year for those who don't know. Probably Celebrini in San Jose. He's just going to play in all situations. Norris is a little tougher. You got Yossi, you got Kalen McCarr, Adam Fox with the Rangers, a local boy, also well here. I'm going to go Quinn Hughes there with the Vancouver Canucks.
Okay, all right. So I do appreciate that. Despite not being able to get involved, you kind of have thoughts on everyone. I'm curious because the McDavid number is plus 150, George. That is a short number for an award before anything has been played. Is he, even if you think he's going to win it, do you think he's worth it at that number?
The problem with McDavid, you want to equate it to other sports. You want to go basketball? Why doesn't LeBron win every year? Baseball, why doesn't Mike Trout win every year? Why didn't Tom Brady win every year? Because the voters get bored. He's the best. It's not even close. He's the best player by far. He's going to have a gazillion points. There's no doubt about that. Unless he gets hurt, he'll lead the NHL by 30 points. It's easy. That won't even be a contest. Yeah. But I think they do get bored here with voting for, again. Like, why hasn't Mike Trout won more? Why isn't Tom Brady won more? We know they're the best players when they were playing. So that's the problem they were with McDavid. That being said, it is short, but he is the prohibitive favorite.
He is. I mean, it's just incredible. Plus 160 to have 20 points in his first 10 games. 2 points a game is what you need for that to happen. I mean, that is just a point in each of his first 10 plus 450. Is this stuff you can get involved with, George?
No. It's too much. I would need a really massive. I mean, for fun, you want to throw $10, $20 at it? Fine. Yeah. Anything massive? No. I mean, what if he misses a game? One thing about hockey, all you need is one hot goalie. That goalie's having the day of his life that day. All right, and all of a sudden you're not scoring. That happens all the time in the NHL. So no, I wouldn't get involved with anything like that. I mean, the 20 points in 10 games, 2 a game. I mean, it's crazy. At the end of the season, he won't be that far off that number. Like I said, 140 is what he's predicted for. That's a little less than 2. It's about 1.78 points per game. So he's not that far off here. But no, I'm not going to bank on that.
All right, that's what a player, huh? His prop for where is this thing? I love talking about greatness. 130.5. It's great.
I'd go over.
It's 51 higher than Bedard, and I know that Bedard isn't like in the MVP race, but just kind of the gap that exists between where those guys are right now. I did play some Bedard, George, 79.5 to the over, sophomore season.
Once they give Bedard some more help, better help, this kid, he's not McDavid. Nobody is, right? McDavid's a freak. All right, but once they give this kid some help, he is a star player. He will amass over 100 points. I think he gets over 79.5, by the way. Once again, assuming health, as we always say. That's less than a point per game. He'll do it.
Yep. All right, awesome there as always, George. We appreciate the time. Up next, it's NFL insider Adam Kaplan. A wild day in the NFL. We'll ask him about it.
I think the Washington Commanders are one of the best bets to win it all, or at the very least win the NFC.
Their offensive line, I do want to say one thing. It's very average. The coaching is good. They're getting good coaching from Bobby Johnson, their line coach, here from the Giants. But they've kind of overachieved. Let's call it like it is. Daniels has taken them up. Look, that division's not very good, and they could very well win it over the Eagles and the Cowboys. They're not a Super Bowl team.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. Brady, I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all season.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take. I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
I do think they come back, and I think they win this game, but they've got to do it decisively. I think they've got to get that confidence back because they went out there, and like I said earlier, Kentucky almost beat Georgia. Kentucky almost did beat Ole Miss, and I think what you're going to see in this conference, if you don't play well and you're a top 10 team in the SEC, you're going to get knocked out by one of those top 25 teams in the SEC if you're not ready to play.
Powered by SportsGrid.
He already has more than 1,000 yards. The last three running backs to win the Heisman, Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram, Reggie Bush, did not have more than 650 in their opening 5 games of the year. Ashton Genty on pace to strike the pose in December.
Statistics matter. Blow every record out of the water, and he will be a Heisman. Disgraceful performance by the head coach, not Gene.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, welcome back. Game time decisions right now. Mets up 6-0 on the Philadelphia Phillies. Phils, though, did get their first man on. We'll see if anything can happen there. And if you are a New York Jets fan and a New York Mets fan, I am sure that this game has been the calming effect that you needed. We are joined by NFL insider Adam Kaplan. Cap, man, I hardly know where to start, but what have you heard throughout the day around Robert Saleh being fired here on this Tuesday by the New York Jets?
You can't say it came out of nowhere because Woody Johnson, I've talked to people who've worked for Woody in the past and also today, he's mercurial. You don't know where he's coming from sometimes. This is clearly from him. This is his decision, not Joe Douglas's. The owner made this decision, and it's kind of weird because when you look at it, Kevin, if they win this week against the Bills, they're technically in first place.
Yep.
So that's why people have been surprised. But one thing I could tell you that I'm going to add, Jeff Ulbrich is really respected in their building. He's the interim head coach. And if you would have asked me, let's say this didn't happen. 4 weeks from now, they were 2-6, 3-7. Mm-hmm. You would say to me, if Woody Johnson pulls the plug in season, who's going to be the interim head coach? I would have told you Jeff Ulbrich because he's going to be a future head coach. I could guarantee you that. Great command, total respect to the players, total respect to the people in that building. But with Robert Saleh, yes, he brought a lot of energy to the team and so forth. But boy, they got off to a difficult start. In fact, I could tell you from talking, Kevin, to the Jets, they had high hopes and they still have high hopes, but they're expecting to be really, really good because they felt that they addressed their offensive line. We could debate how good it is, but they addressed the offensive line. They added Mike Williams at receiver. They still need to be better there. That's why they're interested in Devontae Adams. Their defense is really, really good. It's maybe not quite where it was last year. It's still really good. So the problem's with the offense. And that's not Robert Saleh's side of the football. He's a defensive guy. That is why this is very odd to do this right now.
So I mean, Cap, kind of then taking what you just said there and trying to figure out how then this is the conclusion. How does Woody Johnson fire? The first time he's ever fired a coach in season is after 5 games, not 14 games, not 10 games, 5.
Yeah.
A defensive coach whose last 2 performances were holding an opponent to 10 points and 60 passing yards, and then a Vikings team who couldn't stop, who shredded everybody. And Sam Darnold had no touchdowns when the prior 4 games he had multiple passing touchdowns in every single game.
But I'll understand Ulbrich calls the defense. I know Saleh's the head coach. It's his scheme that he brought in. Ulbrich knew the scheme. That's why he's there. But the bottom line is this is to get Saleh out. You and I probably talked before the season started. I know Pharrell and I talked about it, sort of where the Jets were at, what had to happen. I told him not only did they have to make the playoffs, they probably needed to make a deep playoff run for everyone to come back. Well, the head coach has been sacked. So for them to not make the playoffs, look, there would have to be changes. That's just the way that it works in the National Football League. We know Woody Johnson is very different, Kevin. We're covering this league now over 25 years. He's one of the strangest owners. Talking to people, Kevin, who've worked for him in the past, you don't know where he's coming from sometimes. You don't know where he makes these decisions. You don't know quite where he gets these decisions. It's definitely surprising. And I saw Jay Glazer's note, who talked to Saleh. Saleh was surprised. I could tell you internally, this is what I'm told, internally, within the coaching staff, they did not see it coming because there's been no hint of it. As I said at the start of this, there's usually a hint of this. You know when you're really bad, you know the end is coming. That's not the case right now. They're 2-3 and only came out of first place.
The thing, though, Cap, I would say, is if we were to say, hey, where would the hint of this be? It's the consistent contention between Robert Saleh and Aaron Rodgers. The offseason, the odd push on the sideline, the way Rodgers reacts to every single thing on the field. And it is why, Cap, someone like myself cannot look at this as being anything other than the Aaron Rodgers effect. There's every single thing that we are seeing here today suggests Aaron Rodgers is having a massive hand in what's played out.
Well, first of all, listen, if that happened to be the case, why isn't Nate Hackett the head coach? Because that's his guy. That's the only reason why Hackett's there is because of Rodgers. Let's call it like it is. Come on.
100%.
So Hackett, who failed as a head coach, would have been the guy. He was dreadful with Denver. So the bottom line is, because listen, yes, Aaron Rodgers had a lot of say in the personnel decisions. They gave him everything they wanted. They got his own offensive coordinator. He got Alan Lazard, who would have been cut had not been for the $10 million guarantee. They got a lot of his players in there. You saw last year they had guys. They brought guys in that he played with in Green Bay. He's gotten everything he's wanted. So yeah, I find it hard to believe that. Look, is Woody Johnson really going to consult with him, not Joe Douglas? And Joe Douglas, by the way, wanted Robert Saleh. That was his picked guy. Mm-hmm. I get it. You could question it all you want, but you've got no proof that Aaron Rodgers had anything to do with this. I find it hard to believe. I could tell you when I know players have input, but I find this hard to believe.
But you just said we know for sure that he has completely decided who the offensive coordinator is and a lot of personnel, right? And we know that the Devontae Adams connection he has some say in. So at minimum, we have copious amounts of proof that he is involved in the decision-making for this football team, right?
Yeah, but
we saw reporting elsewhere, Cap, that Hackett's job was potentially on the line today. So...
yeah, but listen. You got to look at it. First of all, who would be the interim offensive coordinator? There's a whole lot going on here. The thing is that I'll address the Rodgers thing. It just doesn't work like that. You don't like subvert the command and say, forget what Joe Douglas thinks. If you're Woody Johnson, I want to know what Aaron Rodgers thinks, and then I'll decide whether I'm going to fire the guy. Again, I've not seen anything out there that's credible. It's all internet speculation, by the way, just so you understand. I get it. You and I have had these segments now for 2 years where we go over what's real and what's not. I get the inference because Rodgers has been given a lot, okay? I just outlined it all, okay? But this one's a little bit far-fetched.
Let me ask you something quickly, Kat, though, before we let you get out of here, because there was some other AFC East news. Obviously, it's not the lead, But the fact that Drake May gets the job this week for the New England Patriots, I don't know if there was going to be any timing where it would make sense. I don't know if this was the timing where it jumped off the page. What do you make of this move?
Yeah, look, and remember, Gerard Mayo, the head coach, he basically gave you answers to the test. It's the first time all season he didn't back Jacoby Brissett to be the starter. So he kind of gave it out there. It was obvious they had to do something. Because I remember when we started here, start the season, we talked about, okay, when is this going to happen, right? And I said, by mid-season, if they're completely bad, and by the way, they're on a 4-game losing streak, and it's obvious they got to make the change. Now, Drake May, of all the rookie quarterbacks, Kevin, was by far the furthest away. It wasn't even close. He's very raw, needs further development. They don't have a great receiver core, but they're a bad football team. You might as well get him in there. The hope here is, though, that he can handle what's going to be challenged to him going forward. This is not going to be easy to do this right now.
And then lastly, Cap, are you hearing anything? I know it's early, but anything out of New Orleans about whether they'll look for options outside of that building to replace Derek Carr in the interim?
Yeah, he's got the oblique injury, and it's going to be a little bit. But they got the two young quarterbacks they really like. I doubt it. I think they're going to go with one of those two young quarterbacks.
Yeah, Spencer Rattler, the South Carolina QB. I know there's a lot of buzz around him potentially getting that job. It's going to be interesting to see. They got a huge divisional game this week against Tampa Bay. I don't think it would be too grandiose to call it must win. Maybe the division's bad enough where you could survive a 2-4 start, but man, that would be tough to drop another divisional game if you are the New Orleans Saints, Cap, no doubt.
Yeah, and by the way, their offense, which was phenomenal to start the season, setting team records, is gone south. Their defense is not good enough to hold them in it. Yeah, but your point is well taken. That division is wide open. Nobody's running away with it.
Yeah, certainly seems to be the case. All right, that is NFL Insider Adam Kaplan. Cap, we appreciate the time as always. We've got Dave Sharapan right around the corner here. We'll update you on Mets Phillies as well.
I think the Washington Commanders are one of the best bets to win it all, or at the very least win the NFC.
Their offensive line, I do want to say one thing. It's very average. The coaching is good. They're getting good coaching from Bobby Johnson, their line coach. Here from the Giants, but they've kind of overachieved. Let's call it like it is. Daniels has taken them up. Look, that division's not very good, and they can very well win it over the Eagles, and the Cowboys. They're not a Super Bowl team.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. Brady, I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long, people. What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take, hot take. I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
I do think they come back, and I think they win this game, but they've got to do it decisively. I think they've got to get that confidence back because they went out there, and like I said earlier, Kentucky almost beat Georgia. Kentucky almost did beat Ole Miss, and I think what you're going to see in this conference, if you don't play well and you're a top 10 team in the SEC, you're going to get knocked out by one of those top 25 teams in the SEC if you're not ready to play.
Powered by SportsGrid.
He already has more than 1,000 yards. The last three running backs to win the Heisman, Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram, Reggie Bush, did not have more than 650 in their opening 5 games of the year. Ashton Genty on pace to strike the pose in December.
Statistics matter. Blow every record out of the water, and he will be a Heisman. Disgraceful performance by the head coach, not Gene.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
All right, we're back with you right here. It's Game Time Decisions. My man Dave Sharapan's in the mix. Consig, We don't get to do it enough, but we make the most of it, man. How we feeling here on this Tuesday?
Oh, we're great, man. We're great. We got postseason baseball.
Yes, sir.
Can't get enough of it. Wake up early this morning out in Vegas, and the Jets fire Saleh. And it's been nonstop talk. Who's to blame? Who's running the team?
Yeah.
All this other stuff. Well, I mean, they play on Monday night against the Bills. You know how much the line moved because somebody got fired and escorted out of the building by security? Have you looked? Have you seen that?
I think did it go a half point in the Jets' favor? I guess it depends when you were looking. I mean,
correct. If it moved at all, if we're sitting in the room, you and I, we go, well, what do you think? I turn to you, you turn to me and go, so we don't do anything. So we wait and see because I don't know if it's better. I don't know if it's worse. I don't care. All we're talking about is the numbers in the games. I mean, it's an interesting story, but what have you been watching up to this point? I mean, I don't know. I don't know what the Jets are. I still don't.
They are apparently the same team they've been for the last 3 years. Great defense. Offense is going to let them down. Which is not what it was supposed to be. So fire the defensive head coach. Since you brought it up, I wanted to ask you, the Patriots go to Drake May in the room, right? That line was 7. Look ahead. It's 7 now.
Yep.
Does someone in the room go, hey, we should move it, or touch nothing? If big bets come in, we can then react? Because I'm still seeing steady 7 here with that game.
Same. Yeah. I don't know how much of the drop-off comes or the air move when you move without taking a bet, which my time, I never did it. Very rarely. I mean, occasionally when you got information or you really like something and you had the flexibility and freedom to do it, you did it. But for the most part, you take bets on the way up or on the way down and let the chips fall where they may because the juice is always working. Jacoby Brissett here, Drake May here. Or Drake May here, Jacoby Brissett here. For those of you listening, you can't see. My hands are really close together. K-Dub, I don't know what Drake May is. I know what Jacoby Brissett is. I mean, he physically can perform the job most of the time, but I don't know if it's an improvement or not. I don't know what I'm getting. At least I know I'm getting a full week of practice. Maybe it'll help. Maybe it won't, but we're not touching nothing.
Yeah, I think the good point you bring up is you might get someone to say, I'm telling you, he's better than Brissett, right? Where another person in the room goes, it's a rookie quarterback making his first start here. He's not coming off of a bye. At some point, he'll be better than Brissett. Not here game number 1. And like you said, touch nothing. I like New England, but what happens is I was betting against Houston, right? The spot, the number. Now I feel like all Patriots tickets are, I'm betting on Drake May. I'm not interested in betting on Drake May. I'm not looking to bet against Drake May, but it changes the game a little bit where I may myself even be backing off, even if I think May is an upgrade over Jacoby Brissett. Dave, I want to get to some of the upcoming games with you, but we can do that in the next segment. I want to throw a college football item your way. We did this last week with the Take 5, Purdy MVP. He lost, but the number didn't move a lot, so it's kind of a wash. Today we did college football playoff make-miss. 5 best bets I think you can make inside that market. Now, I only placed my top 1.
Okay.
It's a plus 400. It's a miss, and it's the team that just lost to Vanderbilt. It's the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Wow. It's plus $4 to miss?
To miss.
How many games do you think they're going to lose, K-Dub?
I think there are 2 more losses on that schedule.
Well, then that's a good bet.
Here's the deal. So that team under 9.5 wins is 2-1, right?
Okay.
I'm getting double that, and I feel pretty good at 9-3. They'll be left out. Maybe a miscalculation on my part, but I'm also getting double it, right? If they were the same bet, I would take the win total, right? I'm getting double it where I think that 9-3 is very in bounds when you look at the Bama schedule. Road trips to Tennessee, LSU, and Oklahoma, Iron Bowl, Missouri, and again, they just lost to Vanderbilt, so maybe they could lose to anybody.
Very true. But the other thing I think you're getting in this is, all right, so under 9.5, that's regular season wins. That doesn't count the conference championship game. If they lose one more and somehow find their way into the conference championship game, they can still make the playoff. They lose the conference championship game as the third loss and are kept out of the playoffs. The season win total would be 10-2, right? But they miss the playoffs would be 4-1, and you would get paid because they're not getting in the playoff. If they only lose one more, which I'm kind of with you. I mean, they may lose two more. For you Bama people, I don't know who needs to hear it, but they might lose two more. They just lost to Vanderbilt.
Correct.
Okay. That's only 2 times they've lost to Vanderbilt since 1957. Okay. I like the bet, K-Dub.
I appreciate
I like
it.
the bet.
I'll run through it again for anyone who missed it. I think Notre Dame to miss the playoff plus 120. UNLV to make 24-1. A&M to make plus 150. Utah to make plus 310. Any thoughts on those other 4?
Well, selfishly, I would love to see UNLV make the playoff. That would be fantastic. I was at the game Friday night against Syracuse. The place was electric for a UNLV game. I think they can. They might have to run the table, which would include beating Boise, and winning the conference championship game. The Notre Dame one is interesting. The games against the military academies seem a little bit more difficult than they did a few weeks ago. We'll find out about the USC game. That's very possible.
100%.
How many more games do they have to lose for you to cash that ticket, though?
If the only loss is USC, they'll have some chance. They lose any other game, I think they're done. UNLV was 7-1. Now you're getting triple the number. That's really nice. We're right back with Dave on the other side.
I think the Washington Commanders are one of the best bets to win it all, or at the very least win the NFC.
Their offensive line, I do want to say one thing. It's very average. The coaching is good. They're getting good coaching from Bobby Johnson, their line coach. Here from the Giants, but they've kind of overachieved. Let's call it like it is. Daniels has taken them up. Look, that division's not very good, and they could very well win it over the Eagles, and the Cowboys. They're not a Super Bowl team.
Newswire, only on SportsGrid.
Right here with you on Pro Football Today on SportsGrid. Odds in motion, trying to see what lines have moved throughout the week.
Never felt more comfortable in this set than I do for this year. Brady, I'm just getting angry. The hot takes are going to be here all long.
What in the world is going on in Miami, Dom?
It's not particularly anything to shy away from just because many people are on top of it.
Hot take. I think this line is asking you once again to take New Orleans.
Pro Football Today, only on SportsGrid.
I do think they come back, and I think they win this game, but they've got to do it decisively. I think they've got to get that confidence back because they went out there, and like I said earlier, Kentucky almost beat Georgia. Kentucky almost did beat Ole Miss, and I think what you're going to see in this conference, if you don't play well and you're a top 10 team in the SEC, you're going to get knocked out by one of those top 25 teams in the SEC if you're not ready to play.
Powered by SportsGrid.
He already has more than 1,000 yards. The last 3 running backs to win the Heisman, Derrick Henry, Mark Ingram, Reggie Bush, did not have more than 650 in their opening 5 games of the year. Ashton Genty on pace to strike the pose in December.
Statistics matter. Blow every record out of the water, and he will be a Heisman. Disgraceful performance by the head coach, not Gene.
The early line, only on SportsGrid.
back with you right here on Sports Grid. Let's run through it here with Dave Sharapan before we set him off to in-game live consig. Known hockey guy, me, tack 2 markets. Tell me what you think. Bedard over 79.5 points. We sizzled the assist to 55 plus at plus 300. Igor Shesterkin, 4+ shutouts, minus 125. We banged it to 6-1 or 6 shutouts at plus 470. How do we feel?
Look at this. Boy, oh boy. Noted hockey guy.
That's right.
Kevin Walsh. The Kevin Walsh. Again, one of the most unbiased people in the sports media. Yep, you are. I like the Bedard thing. Year number 2, figure him to stay healthy. I think if he stays healthy, you're going to be fine. That's the only thing that may get you there. The shutout thing is interesting. I really like Igor and really like the Rangers. They, win the President's Cup last year, playing a lot of defensive games that they have to play to win.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That number's going to be close. I don't know that shutout number. You went
got
a little
4
bit
last
extra
year.
I know that's the number.
Got 4.
6, you went a little bit extra with that move, but like you're known to do every once in a while.
All right.
You're an extra. You're an extra type guy. I like that.
Someone had to do it. I might have also accidentally bet Ilya Sorokin of the Islanders at plus 440 for 6 because of the similarity in names and price. A complete accident. It was a total mistake. They will not give me a refund, obviously. So we're also rooting that in.
You cannot the online stuff. It's very hard to cancel a ticket. And I can tell you this.
Yeah.
I used to tell people this at the counter for years here in Vegas. When a ticket comes out and it's a mistake, keep it and get the other thing that you were going to get. Now, knowing the story, give me the Islander, Igor.
You like that? All right.
I think that one wins. That one's going to win.
Listen, didn't get it last year, but got it the prior 2 seasons. So, I mean, why not us? That's what they're saying. Dave, any quick thoughts on the Utah Hockey Club's debut against the Blackhawks?
I can't believe the number. I know it's the first game, new place, building, all this other stuff. How can anybody be minus 170 over anybody in the first game of the season, especially a team like the Blackhawks? Let's hope the game is entertaining. Half the rink can't even see their own offensive zone. The way it's set up at the Delta Center, it was set up like that when the Coyotes moved from Winnipeg to Arizona. I was going to the games at America West Arena, and the tickets were half price for the one end where you couldn't see and you had to watch on the scoreboard. Let's go Blackhawks plus 1.5 tonight.
I like that. All right, Major League Baseball. That's up 7-2. Padres, Dodgers. I'm on under 8 in this game, minus 115.
Brave soul betting under. But
someone's got to do it.
I like, Walker Buehler's the X factor, right? I didn't even know about this story until this morning. He was at Santa Anita last week, and they shook him down and took his $100,000 watch. That's a weird story. Another weird story is it's his first start since September 26th, and that was the game that he pitched against the Padres, and the Dodgers got their NL West clinching victory that night.
Right.
But I like King. King looks so good last time out.
They all do.
And boy, oh boy, they won all 3 starts against the Dodgers that King made during the regular season. I think it carries over to tonight. By tomorrow, the Dodgers will be facing elimination, and the Mets will have a chance to clinch a spot in the NLCS. So the Subway Series possibility still alive, K-Dub. Still alive.
Yeah, no, sure is. I got to tell you, man, like ear to the ground, everybody gets beat up tonight, plus 340, Walker Buehler to record a win. You got my attention.
Wow.
You got my attention. I don't know. I'm rooting in. I'm trying to save baseball from itself. Yankees-Dodgers World Series. We got baseball guys like Dave rooting in Tigers-Mets.
Just for
Are you kidding me?
Prices.
Are you kidding me?
But the Dodgers, please.
Are you kidding me? Tigers, Mets. Come on. They're going to air that thing on NBA TV after a Bucks-Pacers replay. We'll send you out of here with this. Nafisha Collier to lead the game tonight between the Lynx and the Sun in scoring. Make it happen, and I'll see you on a Thursday right here on Sports Grid. In-Game Live is next.